Hi subscribers. This is actually a particular message which I'm going to try and deliver in this video. Now, as per usual, I'm just going shopping just now, just doing the messages. And this is not going to be a regular thing, of course, but I feel a compulsion to deliver this message. This is a big, huge one, major topic. And I'm going to be speaking from experience. I'm going to be speaking from observation as well, because I know quite a few other people in my family, people I've met in the workplace over the years, who've had a lot of ups and downs in the workplace, who've had to quit jobs, who've had to resign and go looking for another job. Now, when you're stressed out, if you've taken on a job for which you're ill-suited, if you've taken on a job and you've been sold a pup, when you find out too late, once you've started a job, that you've been dropped in the deep end and you're stressed out, in that situation, it's hard to try and retain your composure and think rationally, especially if you begin to experience a nervous breakdown. The thing is, in spite of everything, I want to deliver a very important message here. 19 years ago, almost to this very day, I made one of the worst decisions in my life, and I have paid dearly for it. I walked out of a job and I tanked a whole career in the process. I didn't go by the rules. I didn't just formally hand in my notice and serve my notice period while searching for another job. I just walked out. One day, I just hit breaking point and I just completely broke down, and I couldn't go back into the office. I just packed all my suitcases, packed all my bags, shoved everything in the boot of the car, and I drove home. It's the one and only time that I lived and worked away from home, away from the parental home. I landed a job in Loughborough in Leicestershire in late 2006. I survived 8 months in that job. It was the only professional white-collar job I ever secured. And after 8 months, I jacked. I shit-canned. I had a complete breakdown. I panicked. The workload was just spiraling out of control. My bosses were just dumping more and more and more and more work on my desk, and they wouldn't just allow me to sit down and try to schedule and plan everything and prioritize my myriad duties. And in the end, I realized that I was in a no-win situation. But back then, I reacted in a very foolish and irrational manner. One morning, I just decided I wasn't going in. There are many, many reasons I couldn't afford to live there by myself and run a car as well. Now, this is my mum's car, but next year she'll be putting away her driving license because increasingly she just can't drive. She's getting too nervous on the roads. She's struggling to drive increasingly, and she's decided that next year she's hanging up her hat and she's putting away her driving license, and I shall be taking over this car. This will be the first time I have personally owned a car in nearly 2 decades. In 2007, I was living away from home. I had a professional job. I was a researcher. I was living in my own place, and I was driving my own car. And I threw all that away. Until now, that was the only job for which I was promised a salary of over £20,000 a year. It has taken me 18 years, not even taking inflation into account, it has taken me 18 years to earn over £20,000 in the financial year. Now, I didn't last long enough to actually earn that £20,000 a year because I jacked after 8 months. But I would have been paid over £20,000 a year had I survived in the job. It has taken me 18 years to get back to that level, not even taking inflation into account. That is the penalty, the financial penalty which I have paid for quitting dramatically just tanking my job, tanking a whole career in the process. And I'm not the only one. I've met other people, I've known other people who made the same poor decision. My brother took on a job in about late 2009, a very well-paid job, but it was a very stressful job. And within about 6 months, he had a breakdown. And I remember he got on the phone to me, which was actually a wise thing for him to do. He got on the phone to me, and I told him straight, do not walk out of the office. At worst, hand in your notice and go look for another job, but don't walk out of the office. You have to serve your notice period at the very least. I said to my brother, try if at all possible to get round the negotiating table and sit down with your managers. Failing that, hand in your notice, serve your notice period, and look for another job. Which he did. But he paid the penalty for that. It took him around about 5 years, income-wise, to get back to where he was. He had to work several jobs in the interim period. He had to take on initially some temporary jobs. He had to actually approach a recruitment agency, and they sent him around. He was a temp going around multiple roles, taking on temporary work for a while, and then he landed an okay office job and then a slightly better one. It took him 5 years to get back to where he was, income-wise. So this is a very important message, and the reason I'm making this message is that there are 3 reasons. 3 things which have triggered this video. One is, some of you will be aware of the lone tuber here on YouTube, who's produced a reaction video. In fact, I think he's actually produced 2 reaction videos to a guy called Mr. E, who's in his late 30s, who's just jacked his career, has walked out of his job. And lo and behold, Mr. E has suddenly discovered he's unemployed, he's got no income, and he's got almost no savings. Well, I'm sorry to say, but Mr. E, he has just plunged himself into a world of pain. But there are 2 other reasons why I'm making this video. One is, as you know, I work as a cleaner at this industrial site. I'm part of a cleaning team, and we took on a new cleaner 2 months ago. She turned up, she was doing her shifts for about 2 weeks, and then one morning she just didn't turn up. And the last thing we heard was she apparently signed off sick, but we are not allowed to know exactly what the reasons are. But we've not seen her since. She just flaked, ghosted, disappeared, didn't come back. And the rest of us cleaners, I included, are feeling very angry about that. That's the kind of behaviour I would expect from some entitled Gen Z teenager, someone in their early 20s, not from a woman in her 50s. It's not a very mature decision, let's just say. Certainly not very professional. A third reason why I'm making this video is because one of my father's longtime friends, they've known each other since they were at high school. His friend's son, he went to university about 10 years ago, studied computing, and he landed a very good career about maybe 3-4 years ago. And a few weeks ago, his father, my father's friend, discovered through the grapevine, not directly, that his son recently just walked out the office, quit his job, didn't even discuss it or tell anybody about it. He just walked. And one day, he discovered that his son was broke. A bit like Mr. E. He's found himself totally unemployed and broke, doesn't know what to do with himself. Okay, so that's basically the intro. I've got to do the messages just now, and I'll basically deliver part 2 on my way home.